Imagine being called weak, lonely, and unlikely to succeed. Imagine growing up without your father, being abandoned by your mother, struggling to fit in with everyone around you. Now, imagine becoming one of the greatest scientists in human history. A man whose discoveries would change the way humanity understands the universe. This is the incredible true story of Isaac Newton, the boy who transformed science forever. Isaac Newton was born on January 4th, 1643, in England. His start in life was far from promising. He was born prematurely and was so small that many believed he wouldn't survive. Before Newton was born, his father had already died. At just 3 years old, his mother remarried and moved away, leaving young Isaac behind with his grandparents. Newton later described feeling abandoned and lonely. The emotional wounds would stay with him for years. But those lonely years would also shape the brilliant mind that was developing inside him. At school, Newton wasn't known as a genius. He was quiet, shy, and often kept to himself. Other children sometimes bullied him. One day, after being challenged by another student, Newton decided he would prove everyone wrong. He threw himself into learning. Books became his escape. While other children played outside, Newton spent hours reading, studying, and building mechanical inventions. He created miniature windmills, sundials, and complex models. Even as a teenager, his curiosity seemed endless. When Newton was a teenager, his mother wanted him to become a farmer. She pulled him out of school and expected him to manage the family farm. But Newton hated farming. Instead of watching livestock, he spent his time reading books. Instead of managing crops, he sat under trees, solving problems. It quickly became obvious Isaac Newton was not meant to be a farmer. Thankfully, his teachers recognized his intelligence and convinced his mother to send him back to school. That decision would change history. Newton eventually entered Trinity College at Cambridge University. Here, he studied mathematics, astronomy, and natural philosophy. At the time, many accepted ancient ideas without question. Newton was different. He questioned everything. He constantly searched for deeper answers. But then, disaster struck. A deadly plague spread across England. Cambridge University was forced to close. Students were sent home. What seemed like a terrible setback would become the most productive period of Newton's life. Back at his family home, Newton spent nearly 2 years in isolation, without teachers, without classrooms, without distractions. During this time, his mind exploded with ideas. He developed the foundations of calculus. He began studying light and optics, and according to popular legend, he observed an apple falling from a tree. The sight inspired him to ask a simple but revolutionary question. Why do objects always fall downward? That question eventually led to the discovery of gravity, a force affecting every object on Earth and every planet in the universe. Newton returned to Cambridge with groundbreaking ideas. Years later, he published one of the most important scientific books ever written, Philosophia Naturalis Principia Mathematica, known simply as the Principia. In it, Newton introduced the laws of motion and universal gravitation. For the first time, scientists could mathematically explain how objects move, how planets orbit the sun, and how the universe operates. His discoveries became the foundation of modern physics. For more than 200 years, scientists relied on Newton's work to understand the world. Newton became one of the most respected figures in England. He was elected president of the Royal Society. Later, Queen Anne knighted him, making him Sir Isaac Newton. The lonely boy who had once struggled to fit in had become one of the most celebrated minds in history. His ideas influenced generations of scientists, including Albert Einstein. Even centuries later, Newton's discoveries remain central to science and engineering. Isaac Newton's story teaches us something powerful. Greatness doesn't always begin with confidence. It doesn't always begin with talent. Sometimes it begins with curiosity, with asking questions others ignore. Newton wasn't born into success. He faced loneliness, rejection, loss, and uncertainty. Yet he never stopped learning, never stopped questioning, never stopped searching for answers. One curious boy changed humanity's understanding of the universe, and his story reminds us that a single question can change the world.